feared and feared through Killarney. Now I'm back to hitching with the wind. But if Mickey Flynn should ever find me, I'll throw me caution all behind me and square off on that son of a bitch again. He cracked open a river too, he beat me Sunday through and through, and such over my unconscious frame. I won me healthy sheriff fights, well lucky son still had me life since Mickey Flynn beat me dumb and lame.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Chasing the Pennant. I'm here today with Borg and Biscuit. We are all excited as we are less than 24 hours away from the first pitch in baseball, and we are less than 2 days at this point away from Phillies baseball, as Phillies will have their first pitch at 7:05 on Friday evening. But let's start off with Biscuit. How you doing today?
Woo! We are almost back. I'm bringing all my excitement to this one just because it's the last time we will record before a sport returns for the first time in what feels like forever at this point. So I'm happy to be here, Andrew. Thanks for having me on the show. I'm very excited. I can't wait. I'm shaking now thinking about it.
The goosebumps have started, right?
Oh my God, dude! I'm at the point. I have a coworker of mine who always asks how I'm doing, and is always like, "Are you excited, man? It's back. It's here tomorrow. Like you're gonna watch baseball." And I'm so freaking excited. Like I said, I can't contain myself. I have my jersey, my cute little jersey that I have to wear for tomorrow, and then I have my jersey for Friday and the Phillies opening day. So I'm very, very excited indeed.
You mentioned all your jerseys on the last podcast. I went back and listened, but do you have your opening day one picked out yet?
It's going to be my personal favorite, my Bryce Harper powder blue. I think for tomorrow I might throw back and do my burgundy John Kruk that I have, but I saved my Harper blue for a Friday with my Phillies. I'm very excited.
Very nice.
I know I said it about 1,000 times, man, but Andrew, I have the biggest smile on my face. Like, oh, I'm just so hyped it's back.
Hey, that's the way I'm feeling too. Finally, I can stop watching these TV shows, and I've never been a big TV show or movie guy, so I'm ready to finally be able to watch sports again. But how you doing, Borg?
Doing well. I thought Biscuit blew out his mic at first there because it got really low as soon as he screamed, and then he came back up to regular volume because I guess he went further away from screaming. But I thought that was too high of an octave for his mic for a second. But no, I'm very excited as well. I mean, the season's right around the corner. We have the game. Obviously, the season starts tomorrow, but the Phillies start on Friday. So I think we'll get into this later, but having our two aces to start the season is extremely helpful. But I'm really excited about the season starting, and also today was a good day. I got to write some articles, and I have my cheat day on the diet I'm doing of having like the juicing and other stuff. I went to Wendy's today, so got a decent chicken sandwich at Wendy's, so
Right on.
There you go.
So the Asiago Ranch, recommend that. So yeah, today's been a great day. Baseball's almost back. And then my other favorite sport, hockey, my man Oscar Lindblom got a 3-year contract, so it couldn't be a better day.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking about contracts, that's what's going to take us into our first point here. And today in MLB, the big news was the Mookie Betts deal with the extension with the Dodgers. He signs a 12-year, $365 million extension. And obviously, there's a big guy in Philadelphia that a lot of people are hoping for the Phillies to sign. So, Biscuit, you've been the big advocate on here trying to get the Phillies to get that deal done with Jt Realmuto. So I'm going to start with you. How do you view this deal for Mookie Betts? How do you think that impacts the market and the Phillies in general for JT's extension?
Well, for one thing for sure, it really does put all eyes on Philadelphia now and Jt Realmuto to see what's going to happen here. I mean, obviously, now that Betts is off the market, JT really is – I'll have to look at the entire class again, but I know for certain he is the best position player hitting the market this year. And I'm sure I'll have to look at the pitchers heading into free agency as well. But I believe he even like in terms of like star power and talent, like he really is the cream of the crop in the class this year. And now I just think there's more pressure on Philly than ever to really get this extension done. I'm still optimistic. I think it would be horrific if he left Philadelphia, and I'm sure majority of people in Philly agree with that statement. However, like I would hate to really go deep into this season not knowing what is going to happen, whether that be is there a plan to sign him or is he going to test the water? I want to kind of figure out that answer throughout the way, just so we're not left lingering and holding on to any hope, because the more this drags out, the more I'm going to become pessimistic. But the main thing that this Dodgers deal really shows is that teams are still willing to pony up, specifically in a rich and prosperous organization like the Dodgers. They're still going to make moves. They're thinking about the long haul still. They know that this, I think roster is kind of aging out. They have some guys set to hit free agency this year as well, but they still believe they have a core intact that can really compete for quite some time. And it just also goes to show what kind of powerhouse the Los Angeles Dodgers have been for the last, it feels like forever, but the last decade. But back to JT, it really just shows that it needs to get done now. Like, all eyes are on us. All eyes are on what's going to happen with him. And the Phillies should just pony up at this point.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you. And going off your point about where this leaves JT in the next year's free agency market, I mean, you can pick whoever you think the best player is, but it definitely makes JT the best hitter, the best pitcher available. That, in my eyes, is Trevor Bauer. Outside of Bauer, it's probably Marcus Stroman. So those are probably the top two.
I would put Odorizzi before Stroman, personally. But
I think it's pretty close. I think a very Stroman on top of his game is a little better than Odorizzi, maybe.
If I'm not mistaken, too, Robbie Ray will be a free agent as well. He's the left-handed starter for the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I think the other lefty is Mike Minor from the Rangers.
But none of these guys are aces. None of these guys are like bona fide aces.
And you might be able to, depending on which Bauer shows up, you might if you need pitching, you might be able to make that argument. But yeah, JT is going to be better than anybody else out there in the market. So, like you said, all eyes are on the Phillies now, and it's going to be interesting to see where this deal gets done. I think you made a lot of good points, but before I keep going, Bork, do you agree with what Biscuit said, or is there anything you disagree with?
No, I agree, and I agree with what you said, too, because the only other, which I don't think could get to be on the market as long as he keeps doing what he did for the Yankees, other hitter up there hitting-wise would be LeMahieu, but I don't think DJ LeMahieu is going to make it to the market, because if the Yankees are smart, they wouldn't let him make it to the market if he continues to do as well as he's doing for them and be as good as he's been for their young talent. So that would just be stupid on their part. So I don't think that's going to happen. So yeah, JT, you don't want to let him get to the market, because he's going to be by far, honestly, in my opinion, the best player on the market, with Mookie Betts dropping off of the market. But all I have to say about the Mookie Betts contract is Green Day had a band that was called The Network, and they had a song. It was called Money Money 2020. Mookie. There it is. Everyone's getting their money in 2020.
Oh my God, Joe Bork. Bork, you're a quality person, man.
So it's like we have this odd year, but people are still making their money. Obviously, you're still seeing contracts in different leagues. Like Biscuit said, you saw some teams are negotiating in the NFL with their players as well. There have been some big contracts in the offseason still. So it seems like it's not to the degree of where we thought at the beginning, oh my God, this is going to be affected to like an 100-degree magnitude. So I think the Phillies should be able to find a way to sign JT, because you have Jake coming off the books. And you have Diddy for 1 year. So obviously you're probably going to want to re-sign him if he plays well. But just speaking from what's going on right now with your contract. And is Robertson's after this year or next year?
No, his contract's going to be off the books as well. And same with I don't know how his contract was affected after everything went down, but I mean, I know we never gave him a huge extension, but we also gave Herrera a decent amount of money, and I think he's up after this year as well.
Mm-hmm.
So you're getting a lot
Yes.
of money back, and you bring up a good point about where the market's at. And I don't know if you guys thought about this at all, and yeah, I'm a Clintac hater, so sometimes I try to find ways to come against him, but when this deal was signed, I kind of thought about what he said and about the whole landscape changing, and now you gotta wait and see about the money. And then you see the Dodgers come out here and sign a guy for $365 million, and obviously we're not even gonna come close to that with JT because being a catcher, he's only gonna get a 5-6 year deal. So I was like, how much has the landscape really changed if these guys are still going out there? And I get it, the Dodgers are probably a little bit bigger market in terms of money because of their ownership, but like the Phillies are no small market, so like I really don't think he can use this landscape as a whole excuse for too much longer when teams are going to be signing these guys for that kind of deal.
Especially because catchers, like you said, you're not signing a catcher for 13 years.
Right.
So you're not locking yourself in for a potential stranglehold of a contract at the back half because you're not going to sign a catcher for that long. JT would, in a 5-year deal, be good for at least, I would think, in my opinion, 4 of them, because sometimes catchers dwindle out. I don't think he would be bad in any of the years, but he would probably be, with the talent level he's at, and the fact that he doesn't have as much on his legs as other catchers because he came up as an infielder, which it's rare to have someone switch to a catcher. Normally that's the other way around. I think he's a guy that getting that 5-year deal, there's not really much risk there at all compared to 13-year deals, no matter what, have a risk.
Yeah, Boric. He'd only be 34 years old, and as you mentioned, his legs aren't too taxed. He is a very inept fielder. Obviously, can run the bases really well. So you could tell he fields the position really well. I just also think too, with the DH looking like it's here to stay in the National League now, and you could also see him playing a different position in a couple years if being a full-time catcher does wear him down. I think the bat's going to be consistent through all of it, though. And also, like I said, and I brought it up on podcast, and I'll bring it up at the end of the show because it's going to be my final thought as well. He is going to be a Hall of Fame catcher. He is just so talented. He's a 5-tool catcher. He's a 5-tool player. I just don't. When you have a player that talented, you just don't let him go like that. Especially, like, I know everyone says, oh, well, like, you can't use what they gave up to get him as an excuse to keep him around if it doesn't work financially. It works because he is a phenomenal player. He's a generational player. And also, like, let's look at Bryce Harper, too. Harper really wants him here. In the second year of Bryce Harper's 13-year contract, you really want to disappoint him by not getting a guy that he's clearly really bonded with during his time here. He speaks very highly. They both speak very highly of each other. I just think it would be so, like, not like, I don't know if unfair is the right word, but you just don't want to.
Could work.
Yes, you don't want to piss Bryce Harper off 2 years into his contract by not getting a guy who's a generational player, in my opinion.
I agree with you completely. And I mean, that's why you got to get this deal done, is because what you'd be losing is just so significant. And the problem here, the longer you wait, too, the more his value is going to go up. And when
absolutely.
And now when you see this deal get done, like we just mentioned, he is the best guy in free agency next year. So that's only more on him and his agent side of why they can drive the price up now. And obviously it's going to turn into a bidding war. And who's to say the Dodgers don't even bid for him? And if you're going to get into a bidding war, say with the Dodgers, and I know the Mets, I mean, I don't really fear the Mets in terms of outbidding. I feel like we can outbid the Mets in that sense. I know they're high on his market, but if you're going to get into a bidding war with, say, the Dodgers or the Yankees or teams like that, that's when I get really afraid, because those are teams that can really outbid you.
Because if Vasquez, I mean, it's Christian Vasquez is a nice catcher, but I mean, Jt Realmuto to Christian Vasquez, that's not a competition. So that would be another key bat in their lineup. I wouldn't be surprised if they go for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's true as well. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what happens in these next few months, or maybe hopefully we can say days or weeks before a deal gets done, because hopefully it gets done sooner rather than later. But obviously, with opening day coming up, roster decisions are pretty big outside of contract extensions, and we saw some of the first significant waves of cuts these last few days. And I don't want to say demotions, but just option down to the work. I don't want to call it AAA because there's no AAA season this year, so it's more of just a workout camp kind of thing to keep them in shape if they got to get caught up.
What a taxi squad.
Yeah, I think a lot of people calling it the taxi squad. The big one in terms of what we've been talking about, Spencer Howard's move to that end is he will not start the year with the big league club, most likely because of the 7-game service year. So I think we can still expect him to come up early. Unfortunately, I was hoping the rosters would be finalized by the time we did this, but unfortunately they're giving them till noon Eastern tomorrow before the Yankees Nationals get their first pitch underway. So they have till noon Thursday to finalize the rosters. So we're still waiting word on Alec Boehm. Nothing's said of him, so we'll see what his decision is. But again, the big one, Spencer Howard will be starting there with the taxi squad. Significant cuts in my eyes were veterans in Bud Norris, Logan Forsythe, Francisco Liriano, and Josh Harrison were the big veteran guys that I thought a couple of those guys had a significant shot to make the team. I'm interested to see where they go now. If Boehm will make it now because there's a couple infielders cut there. I think it might give Phil Gosselin a chance to make it. But we'll start with you, Bork. What so far the guys that have been optioned or flat out released, who's been the most surprising, and do you think any of them is a mistake in terms of losing depth on the team?
I think the most surprising is Josh Harrison, but do I think it's a mistake? No, because he has to be released. So that's not a mistake if he has to be released. So that was his own prerogative, so you got to take what it is. That was the most surprising, though. Logan Forsythe is a nice little player, but with the fact that Gosselin got back to hitting and he was a key pinch hitter last year, I think Girardi always liked him. You could kind of tell from camp. I mean, he's the one that started giving him the nickname, started the whole goose is loose thing because he said that when he came in and caught a fly ball. So I think he's always had a good shot if he started hitting again, which he has since coming back to camp, making the team. And then Neil Walker is going to make it because he has ties with Girardi as well. So other than just having a great player like Diddy that's able to know his system, Girardi was with Walker in his final year in New York. They were both there in Girardi's final year of 2017. So I think he's a nice guy that can play some first and kind of be a switch hitter. Also can play the corner outfield for you if need be. He's a guy that's pretty solid. Boehm's going to be interesting, though, because it kind of, if you have these depth people, I could see the reason Josh Harrison wanted to ask for release, though, is because they said Boehm's going to make the roster right away. That's kind of what I was thinking. But at the same time, if you're going to wait the 7 days for Howard, why not just wait the 7 days to have an extra year for Boehm if you have some guys that could kind of handle being depth infielders until then? Like, it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me if you're going, you know what I'm saying? Like, it just doesn't make much sense to me.
I get what you're saying, but like I said, I think we did one before. It was the three of us, and I said if they really believe in Alec Boehm that much, I mean, I say just start him on the year, let him start the year as a DH, let him get comfortable right away, especially with, I mean, I know obviously you're going to be facing their ace, but you're facing a bad Marlins team, so what better way to try to get Alec Boehm to get comfortable in this major league setting? I mean, I would rather him come up against these guys rather than face some of the harder teams down the road that we have to face after the Marlins. So you get him in here against Miami pitching in Citizens Bank Park. I think you can get him off to a fast start, and I think it could go a long way with this team to get off to a quick start. And I think they're going to need a quick start for their overall season. So I'm all for letting Boehm make the team, start him at DH to start the year, and I'd be excited to see that. But I think it also, the guys it's going to come down to outside of Phil Gosselin, I think I forgot to mention is Ronald Torres, or what he was with the Yankees as well.
Because he was with Girardi.
But it's what we don't know. Like and I'll let you get in here, Biscuit, in a second. But like, you figure the locks in the infield are Hoskins, Kingery, Gregorius, Segura, Walker. So that's 5 guys right there. And then you're going to come
Walker
down to
also can play the outfield, so like you kind of have a movement there. So can Goose if you put him in the outfield. So the only guy that's really locked into the infield is Torres.
wait, I think you're going to take two of these three in Gosselin, Torres, and Bohm. But Biscuit, was there anybody surprised or any mistakes you think from those roster cuts?
Well, as Boric mentioned, the big surprise for me was Josh Harrison. I talked about him on the last podcast and mentioned how impressive he's been in camp. He's someone that I did expect to, be on the 30-man roster come opening day. But his, requested release was a bit of a surprise. For me, the big shock was kind of Francisco Liriano, to be honest with you. Mainly because for a team that obviously what scares most people about this team is our lack of pitching depth. And for a guy who came off a pretty successful 2019 season as a reliever, he's a veteran, he can start games too. It just seems like it's a really nice, like he would have been a really nice depth piece to have if, we needed him to make a spot start or God forbid, some combination of Pivetta, Velasquez, or Arrieta go down. He could, fill in that void. I've heard, rumblings that it was primarily because it would have either pushed them very close or even over the luxury tax threshold. So that was some current concerns with releasing him or letting him go. But he's someone who I really thought could have benefited this team. I was kind of shocked just because, like I said, he was one of the veteran guys. I expected us to hang on to that slew of veteran pitchers that we signed. As you mentioned, there was also Bud Norris. I kind of expected that to happen to him, though. But he was the big surprise for me.
No, I agree with you completely. I was kind of shocked and a little disappointed that they did cut him. Like you said, he's a guy that you could float around from the starting, from the rotation if you need a spot start or if just another lefty in the bullpen. And I think – all right, especially the start the year. I'm not saying, I know every 2 weeks that they trim the rosters until they get down to 26, but I thought for the first 30, I thought he was going to make it, especially with guys. You still know if Tommy Hunter is going to be ready for opening day. You don't know if Hector Neris is going to be ready for opening day. They optioned Victor Arano to the alternate training site with the taxi squad, so you're down him. I'm pretty sure Ranger Suarez is going to be out opening day. So I thought Francisco Liriano was a guy they're going to keep, and now I don't know who else, but I guess you're going to be looking at, obviously you have Neris a lock, or you have Morgan a lock, Alvarez a lock, but outside of that, who? And then you obviously have Pivetta or Pivetta Velasquez, who
Honestly,
actually does
with
win
how
that rotation. So now you're going to be looking at, is Cole Irvin going to start in the opening day bullpen? Is guys like Cole Irvin, Blake Parker. I mean, now you're really scrapping the bottom of this depth now.
Well, I was going to say, I think a lock now might be the guy that I brought up when Shane asked me to bring up youngsters that could step up in Russo with how well he's pitched. I would say if he continues in their inner squad, because they don't have anything other than that, up until the actual games, if he continues to look good in that, he's probably going to be in the bullpen because he's looked great so far. So it would kind of be dumb if he's not in the bullpen because he's looked so good and he's a guy that I know the organization from reading a bunch of stuff is very high on. So why would you not allow somebody with that type of talent to be in the bullpen right away? I don't think Cole Irvin will be in the bullpen right away. I think the reason they got rid of Liriano is because him being left-handed hurt him, because when Suarez comes back, we have three guys that could potentially be lockdown lefties, and maybe they know more than we do, and that's a lot sooner than we think it is.
But Suarez hasn't even reported to camp yet, so it's still a long ways to go, and that's why I thought at least I didn't expect Liriano to make it throughout the season, but I thought for opening day he'd make it because I was reading when I was looking at the roster potential. I don't know if you guys saw the article by Todd Zalecki, and he was trying to predict the Phillies roster, and it says the three locks were Hector Neris, Adam Morgan, and Jose Alvarez. And again, we don't know what Neris. I think Neris is going to start on the IL to start the year. So there's really only two locks for the opening day roster. And then he lists a bunch of, and this was right before they made the cuts yesterday. So then his possibilities were Victor Arano, who obviously I just mentioned he's optioned to AAA. His other guys are Edgar Garcia, Delius Guerrera, Tommy Hunter, Cole Irvin, Trevor Kelly, Reggie McClain, Blake Parker, and Anthony
Trevor
Swerek.
Kelly. Yeah, Trevor
So,
Kelly's going to be.
I
Well,
mean,
Swerek
to me,
did get cut.
Francisco Liriano is a lot. I mean, I think he's a better option than a lot of those names. But outside of that, then you go down to guys like Garrett Clevenger, JoJo Romero, and then Austin Davis.
Yeah.
So if you're looking at those lefties, and I know you're saying the lefties is going to be crowded when Suarez gets back, which you're right. But if you're going to keep lefties in Austin Davis and Cole Irvin, like I'd much rather Francisco Liriano going out there and pitching than those.
I agree with that. I was going to say Swerzik did get cut though.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't have him anymore. He got cut. I think it was yesterday.
Okay.
But I was going to say Trevor Kelly, I really do not want him to make the bullpen because, again, Andrew knows I'm really nice to players, but I would have much rather just kept Nick Vincent because Nick Vincent is a much better version of Trevor. I wouldn't have wanted Nick Vincent either. Don't get me wrong. But if we wanted someone like Trevor Kelly, I would have much rather had Nick Vincent because Nick Vincent is actually a good version of Trevor Kelly. He can at least still pitch to like a 3.5 ERA, maybe. Trevor Kelly has never pitched below a 4 ERA. So
Right.
I don't want Trevor. He's never been good in his entire MLB career. He's only been good in the minors. So I do not need that man in our bullpen. I would actually rather have Cole Irvin start the season in our bullpen with how he looked decent in some games in camp, where Trevor Kelly didn't look decent even at all really in camp, start in our bullpen. So
Yeah, so I mean that says a lot right there. Then I mean, with what's going to happen, so it's going to be interesting.
I'm just curious. Did Robert, I didn't see. Did Robert Stock get sent down yet?
I think he got sent down to AAA. I believe I saw.
Okay. No, that makes sense to me because his control wasn't that good. He's got good stuff. He's just never been able to control the strike zone.
Yeah, he was optioned. But again, that's another guy. I would have thought they would have tried to keep him around a little bit with some of his experience over some of these other guys. But it's going to be interesting to see how it all shakes out when it's all said and done.
Yeah, that's true. I think Stock's because he can't control the strike zone. He has the brilliant stuff, and T-Mac kind of brought it up in the one broadcast. It's just like he walked the first guy. He's like, well, when he does that, that's when he gets into trouble. He does that way too much. So that I don't know if McClain got sent down either because he's a guy that has another great stuff that might make the team. But again, another guy that hasn't located the strike zone. He was part of we got him as part of a trade with Seattle. So.
Yes, and then the good roster news is, and congratulations to the Wheeler family for having their son was born healthy and everything on Monday evening. I think I read after Biscuit told me about it. I went and looked at it. So Wheeler will be with the team to start the year, and the opening day rotation will shake up as Nola will pitch Friday night, Zach Wheeler Saturday. I think it's afternoon. I think it's 4:05. And then you have Vince Velasquez, which was a surprising third starter to end the series. And then they're going to go Jake Arrieta to open that Yankees series. And depending on the health of Zach Eflin, we don't know yet. He's supposed to throw a simulated game tomorrow, I believe, and then you'll get his status for that fifth game. But were you guys shocked as I was to see Vince Velasquez get that third start?
People are high on Vince Velasquez. Oh, my God. You know, it feels like this has been our lives every spring training or in this case summer camp 2.0 for the last what feels like 1,000 years, where we go into spring training, Vince Velasquez doesn't look awful, and all of us are like, look at him. And you know what? He did. He the cutter looked good. It looked like he was locating. It looked like, and I think his biggest thing is he's a head case and he gets in his head, and that's what screws him up. But he looked like he was confident and looked like he, you know how Gabe Kapler always said, be bold and do everything with conviction. I hate to be like that, but that's what Vince Velasquez has been looking like. He's really looked like he's almost found a groove. However, with all that being said, and I obviously I wish him so much success because as I mentioned on a few pods ago, I actually am a fan of Vince Velasquez. I'm a huge fan, and I wish he's one guy who's been with us for a minute that's not the best player, but I really do wish him to succeed. He looks sharp, but I'm not ready to buy into it yet just because you need to see the final product produce on the field. It's like how Nick Pivetta looked dominant in spring training last year and then was a fucking shite show in the regular season.
Except for against Cincinnati, I believe, that one complete game I was at. Looked like a brilliant pitcher in that.
I remember that start and the Dodgers start as like the two big Nick Pivetta moments of the year, and everything else was just yikes. But point being, like, I think people. You also got to look at the rest of the rotation. You have Arrieta, who's obviously I'm not fully confident that he's going to have a stellar year. He's looked okay, I guess, in spring training 2.0, but I don't think he's done anything to really show that he should be the number 3 guy. And then after that, it's all crapshoot too. So I think Vince Velasquez really proved himself to kind of earn that third spot. But like I said, we're going to have to wait and see to see what kind of results we get. But I'm not too surprised.
I'm not surprised either, because I thought he was going to get the second start if Wheeler was going, because I think I know T-Mac and then brought it up on the broadcast when Girardi asked for an extra batter for Velasquez. It seemed like that was him trying to stretch him out more, knowing if Wheeler's not around, they wanted to use him probably as the second starter. And they weren't going to use Jake as that. So it seems. So I think moving him to 3 wasn't too surprising, because it seemed like he was the front runner, in my opinion, to be our second starter if Wheeler wasn't around for that time. And like I said before, I thought he would always make a better reliever. From seeing him this spring, maybe, like I say with other sports and stuff, sometimes it just takes the right coaching and mix to get in there to kind of perfectly fine tool a player to make him into his full true self and full potential. Maybe that's Joe Girardi and Brian Price. So maybe Velasquez, like Biscuit said in the one podcast, will be able to become that third or fourth starter that actually can give you some innings and locate his fastball and have a good breaking ball and get you at least through 5 1/3, 6 innings of productive baseball and not kind of dwindle out like he has the problems after like 3.5 and some change innings. Maybe this is the guys that know how to find that in him, because he definitely has pitched in camp, of course, past the 3.5 inning mark, and has pitched good 5 and some change games. So.
Yeah, you guys hit it spot on, and I think Biscuit, you brought up a good point. Is he gets in his own head, and I mean, I'm a big watcher in pre and post game live. I always love watching that stuff, and Ricky Pitalico, I don't know how many times he's mentioned it, is like he clearly doesn't trust all of his pitches at times, and that's the biggest thing, is he gets in his own way instead of trusting that stuff. And when you don't trust your own pitches, you kind of lose part of that effectiveness. And I think that's going to be the biggest thing with him. And hopefully, as Bork, you just mentioned, with the new coaching staff and stuff, they can kind of get him through some of those things and get him going. I'm personally kind of, I mean, with the rotation we have, I'm fine with him getting at 3. I was surprised to see him beat Arrieta out. I thought with the veteran experience and kind of the longevity, they would have just gave it to Arrieta in that sense. But then again, I guess they might rather Vince face the Marlins and Arrieta face the Yankees. Is another reason why they.
Well, Vince isn't good career-wise against the Marlins, I don't think, is he?
I'm
pretty sure that's why Shane posted Vince against the Marlins, oh no, or something like that.
I understand that, but my counter to that is, I mean, what team does he have a good?
I don't know if he would be better against the Yankees. Obviously, I'm just saying, just going by numbers, but. I think he's actually going to do pretty solid this year, so I was wondering to put you guys on the spot, over under wins in a 60-game season, 5 for Vince Velasquez.
I'm gonna take the under on that, solely because not necessarily what he'll pitch, but I don't think he's going to be able to just magically go deep into games. I think he's going to, whether he starts to be a little more effective, I think he's still going to struggle to find ways to get deep into games. And a lot of games, if you're getting pulled in the 5th inning, yeah, that's technically gets you the chance to get the win. But a lot of times the game isn't settled by the 5th inning. So a lot of times in that sense, you're going to leave the game in a tie game, or you're going to be losing before your offense gets going. So in a season where you're probably only going to get about 60 games, you figure he's only going to get maybe 12 starts. I'll go a little under. I'll probably go under 5 games.
Okay, no, that's a very good point. Those are good points. What about you, Biscuit?
Screw it, over. Happy opening night, boys. You know what? Other than my fuck it, why not reasoning, I'm gonna say over. I'm hoping he has a great year. I'm hoping he really shows that he not only belongs with this organization, but that he belongs in the big leagues. Uh, Most of that is just stemming from my fuck it attitude, and also the fact that I like the guy and I wish him the best and I hope he succeeds. So I'm gonna say over. I'm gonna be all in on Vince this season as of right now.
Hey, I hope you're right. If he gets over 5 wins, the Phillies should be in pretty good shape, because that means if he's getting 5 wins, Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler should definitely be over 5 wins. So I mean, right there, you'd be looking about pretty good numbers already from that. So no, I hope you're right.
No, I would say
So,
mine was
I was gonna
just
say,
under.
what's
Yeah.
your answer for it?
Mine was because sometimes Vinny also doesn't in games he pitches well, he doesn't always, for whatever reason I'm at, get the best run support. And then in games he's struggling, all of a sudden we're like the Red Sox or Twins lineup. So like I don't know what is up with that. But so I feel like I think he's gonna be just under. And I also say that because I hate picking a push. So I didn't feel like saying I think he's going to get 5 wins. So I'll go with 4. I think would be just under with a chance of making the push. So
Yeah, yeah, I think I'm right with you. I think it's gonna be around 4 wins, 3 or 4 wins. Hopefully, he can start being effective, and we'll see that kind of Vince that we hope to get, or we hoped would have been here by now after making that trade. But I don't know. Do you guys have anything else on the roster decision before we move on?
Nope.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Don't forget, with opening day coming up, you're obviously going to be hungry while watching these games. And 7 o'clock first pitch is the great opportunity to get some dinner. Go check out Just Food. 215-794-FOOD or 215-794-3663. A lot of different sandwich options, or you can get them catering if you have a party coming up after whenever this coronavirus is finally over. Maybe you got some graduation parties at the end of the summer or something when it does start to lighten up, and you can get Just Food catered. And if you're a vegetarian, check out their veggie wrap. They also have different vegetarian options in that sense. So a lot to check out, but just besides the sandwich, they have wraps as well. So don't forget, check out Just Food as the season gets going. And even if there is no game going on, and you're just on your way home from work or something, stop by Just Food. Again, 215-794-3663. But moving on to the next topic, I don't know if you guys saw the MLB released their first week power rankings, and the Philadelphia Phillies, our Phillies came in at 14 to start, and I won't read all of them, but I'll read the top 10 here just to start. First, I think we all would agree the Dodgers are ranked at number 1. Yankees coming at 2, Astros 3, Twins 4, Rays 5, Braves 6, A's 7, Nationals 8, Cardinals 9, Cubs 10, and then the Mets, I'll just say the Mets because they're 13 right before the Phillies. So I'll start with you, Biscuit. 14 for the Phillies. Do you feel for opening week, is that a good spot for them, or do you think they were underrated here or overrated?
I'm going to say underrated. I think the biggest thing is that people aren't willing to go all in on this team right now. And obviously, I think a lot of that is because a lot of people were very high on the Phillies heading into last season. And on paper, it looked like they had a very, very formidable team that was almost very well positioned to make it not only into the playoffs, but possibly even deep into the playoffs. That roster is still pretty much the same one from last year that we have now, plus big additions like Zach Wheeler and Didi Gregorius. However, the fact that the team so underperformed last year, people aren't as willing to buy into the team like they were last year. And I think people are hesitant to really say that the Phillies are, division contenders or postseason contenders, because you really need to see that on paper talent correlate to the field. So I'm going to say underrated just because I do think we're going to have a pretty solid year. I do believe the Phillies have a chance to at least make the postseason in the wild card format. And even more so with the news coming out today that the MLB and the union are actually still discussing what the playoff format is going to be. So there's still a potential chance that the playoff rosters expand from 10 teams to 16 teams. So I think that really still helps the Phillies' chances too. But right now, like I said, I think they're being a little underrated, at least nationally.
Yeah, and real quick to touch on that, as you mentioned, they are renegotiating that to expand the playoffs. If they are to do that, that has to be settled before first pitch tomorrow in the Yankees-Nationals game. Once first pitch does happen, the playoff rules are locked. So, I mean, as Phillies fans, we hope that kind of gets overturned because I think if you expand the playoffs by 3 teams in our league, I think that puts the Phillies in a very good spot to make the playoffs. And I don't want to call them a lock because I don't think outside the top teams, baseball doesn't really have any locks. But I think it puts the Phillies pretty close to that in an expanded playoffs. But yeah, I'm going to say for me personally, I think 14 is about right for opening week because of, I mean, we just mentioned, we went through the pitching and stuff, and you mentioned Biscuit last year, the struggle, and that's why I've been hesitant with this team. So I think 14 is kind of a good spot here. As I mentioned, I mean, I think everybody in the top 10 there is better than the Phillies, and 11's the Reds, which I was kind of surprised they gave the Reds that much love with the amount of moves they've made in the offseason. So they're pretty high on the Reds, as am I. The Indians were 12, and then the Mets 13. So I think those teams are. I guess I would put the Phillies over the Mets. I mean, I think they're pretty close to even teams. But with all the stuff the Mets are dealing with already, missing some guys, I would put the Phillies above the Mets in that sense. But I think that's really the only team I'd put them over that they don't have the Phillies over already. So I think they're about right. But Bork, what do you think?
Well, when I read that article, though, because I know the Braves were 5 last week, and it put that in parentheses, and then it had all the numbers in parentheses. We were 12 according to the parentheses number, and then moved to 14 in the first official rankings right before the season. So I don't understand what happened to move us to 14. That's the only question I have. I don't know if they're like, holy crap, Spencer Howard's not starting on the roster. Oh my god. like I don't know what made that go down 2 specs there. That's the only question mark I have. Other than that, I'm kind of with you. I agree. 12, I would be like, maybe that's a little high, but I would be okay with what 14. I kind of think that's where we're kind of at going into the season, because I think this team is a team that is better also to not over expect, because we've done that the past couple seasons and it hasn't gotten us in the right spot at the end of the season and feeling all happy, holly jolly and all that good stuff. So at least if you come into the season expecting to be around 14 and you over exceed that, that's going to be fantastic. If you expect being around 14 and you're around 14, then you're going to be like, all right, cool. That's kind of what I expected. So, like, either as long as you're not like the 20th best team and when you expect it to be 14, you're not going to be pissed off in those scenarios. So that's kind of the way I look at it. I think it's a good spot. I only question their list because what the hell made us move down 2 spots? Like, I'm wondering, Wheeler already had his kid. He's going to be back. That would make me almost think we would stay at 12 if they had us at 12. Other than that, I agree with us being at 14, but I just question, like how Nick Wright always said, the hell made you move us down 2 spots? So I have a gripe with the MLB's list. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know what I saw. I noticed that as well too. I didn't bring it into here because I didn't know why they changed it as well. So that's why I didn't address it. But yeah, I don't know what made them change. A big jump. The Reds were 14 in the previous list, and they moved to 11. So same thing with that. And maybe they just reevaluated the teams, and maybe that's what it was. But yeah, you see the Reds make that.
Yeah, but if they reevaluated the teams, we have Zach Wheeler now. Like, what the like that was a question. Like, oh, if we don't have Zach Wheeler for start season, I'll be like, cool, you moved us down.
I just mean reevaluate. Maybe you reevaluate it and you start to like another team more. Is what I'm saying. Not necessarily who you not necessarily who you added or subtracted, because you really didn't add or subtract. You didn't add or subtract anybody really. So I think they kind of maybe just looked at it again and they figured, okay, what they did was more than the Phillies did in the offseason, and they liked it better. I don't know. I'm just
Oh,
speculating.
it was. I get you, but I love that 1 week difference, like how they can just miraculously move a team from like that just does like I don't know. That's just weird to me. You have teams moving all these willy-nilly, like 14 from 11 to 14 is a pretty big jump. I don't know what made them switch the Braves and Rays, to be honest with you.
They had 10 voters. They voted on it, so I'm sure they went by points. So I don't. Maybe so. It's not like it's just this one person who put out the article.
Mhm.
The rankings
No,
come from voters.
I get that.
No,
But
I'm just saying. I'm just clearing it up.
I don't get what made them switch the Rays and Braves. I don't know where I would rank those teams personally. I would look into, but they had the Braves ahead of the Rays, and then all of a sudden they put the Rays ahead of the Braves in the final ranking.
Yeah.
To say that.
Well, and that was going to be another question I had. I don't know if you guys have anyone on this list in that top 10 that you think outside the Phillies is being overvalued or undervalued. Is there any specific team that jumps out where you think they were too high or too low outside the Phillies?
There's a few. Cubs, Cardinals. The Cubs
are high. Yeah.
I'm not too high on the Cubs.
No. I said the Cubs are high, like ranked high.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm not too high on the Cubs. I think I like their chances more than the Cardinals, and the fact that the Cardinals were ranked ahead of them. The Cardinals, not that I can't sit here and say that team wasn't bad last year, because obviously they won the division, they made it to the NLCS, they got hot when they needed to get hot, and that's really what paved their way in that very close NL Central race last year. But I just don't think that lineup is really that talented, and I don't think they made any real additions this offseason, and they lost Ozuna, obviously, to the Braves. So I don't they have, a good bullpen. Their rotation is decent at best. I don't think it's anything too special. But I thought they were very high. Everyone else, though, from like 9 down, that's really how it should be. Obviously, the top 3 teams in baseball are still the Dodgers, Yankees, and Astros. Nothing's changed there. The Twins are a very, very fearsome lineup. They're my favorite in the AL Central. The Rays, they have that phenomenal pitching. Like I said, how everything kind of falls in line from, the last 7 or 8 spots down. It's what you'd expect at this point.
Yeah, I think they probably put the Cardinals where they put the Cardinals because it's like, let's just stop doubting the Cardinals. They're Cardinals. They're going to do well. In my opinion, they have a better pitching rotation than the Cubs because the Cubs have so much injury-plagued people in their pitching rotation at this point. You don't want that in a 60-game season. You have a better ace at this point of their career. Well, you do have a better ace in general in St. Louis and Jack Flaherty. And then Martinez is apparently supposed to be starting. Dakota Hudson's pretty solid. Michaelis is obviously a pretty solid pitcher. So I think Lester's only he's pitched more just like an average solid lefty at this point of his career. And then Quintana gets injured a lot. And I don't know if he's even back to start the season because he had a thumb injury. So that would be my concern with them. I think they really need, which he has the capabilities to do. Kyle Hendricks have a great season. And maybe someone like Chatwood, who just doesn't usually pitch well, but normally doesn't get injured as much as guys like Darvish, step up for them as a guy you're not expecting. Because obviously Darvish is another guy that has to stay on the field. So that's why I think the Cubs are ranked way too high because they have a lot of question marks of just people staying on the field.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think Cubs finish 3rd in their division.
Here's another team.
I think they missed the playoffs.
Do you think the Indians were ranked a bit high though? Because they have the bad mojo going on with them because they know Frenchie's probably how you talk about team dynamics. They know going in, people are not going to be on the team next year.
I was actually going to give you guys, I don't know, I guess it might be a surprise after you mentioned that. So my overvalued teams, 2 teams from the AL East. I think the Yankees and Rays are overvalued here. I honestly think the Yankees are not a top 5 team. I would put the I would put the Dodgers, the Astros, the Twins, and the A's in front of them. And here's where my undervalued team comes in. I think the Indians are better than the Yankees as well on paper.
Oh my God.
I really do. You compare these two teams last year, even with a struggling Jose Ramirez and a very struggling Corey Kluber, who cost them a lot of games, and a bad Jason Kipnis, who they kind of shipped out there. They bring in. I know he wasn't highly loved here, but Hernandez is better than Jason Kipnis, so that's an improvement. The rotation with the way Kluber struggled last year, the rotation is going to be a little better this year than it was last year. They have a great closer in Brad Hand, and I think they have a lot of good prospects coming in. And even with all those issues last year, they still found a way to win 93 games. So to me, the Yankees actually have a lot more question marks than I think a lot of people think they do. So my undervalued team here, to answer your question, Bork, is the Indians. So I don't think they were highly valued.
Oh, wait, actually, you know what? I forgot the Indians got my main boy home, Franmil Reyes. So, I have to give them some more credit now. They got my guy that has a Paul Bunyan-like power, Got to give them some more credit for that now. But, no, actually, yeah, they might be. I forgot, honestly, some of the other acquisitions they picked up looking at their roster now, because they also never had, obviously, they had a question mark with some more contact guys in their lineup that, like, not star players, but like guys that have contact at bat. They got Cesar. So, yeah, I actually now looking more at their roster. My concern with them is beyond Brad Hand, you don't have guys that or have been great throughout their careers in their bullpen. They just have guys that really stepped up for them in recent, like last year and all that, in Whit Green and Hunter Wood and Plutko, however you say that guy's name. But like guys like that. So that would be a little bit minutely of a concern. Their rotation wouldn't be a concern for me. It would be more maybe getting to Brad Hand if those guys struggle, because we know bullpens are the hardest thing to predict. Because one year a guy has a 2.5 ERA and the next year he has a 7.2 ERA. Like, it doesn't make much sense. So that would be the thing that would strike me a little bit. But looking at them now, they might be ranked. I maybe rank them 10. What are they, 11? No, they had them 12.
They're 12.
Have them switch them with the Cubs, I would say.
No, but see, I don't know. Maybe I am overrating them, but I like what they have, and what they have in their manager too. I think Terry Francona is a fantastic manager. I think he's proven himself, and I would trust him in that leading my team.
The other Ohio team. That's what I'd do for it.
Well, you just put him in front of the Cubs. So that's higher than the other Ohio team.
No, I thought the Cubs. No, with the Reds ahead. Oh shit.
Cubs are 10. Reds are 11.
Okay. The team next to the team that's in their division, the Cardinals. I put them we're now in their division. The Cardinals. So I'll put them ahead of the Cardinals. That's what I meant to say.
Well, they're not in their division. They're just playing each other.
Well, I mean, for this year, they're kind of well, yeah, that's true, but they're playing interlocked divisions. That's what I meant to say. But
yeah, and I don't know what you guys' thoughts are on this team, but they have the Rays ranked at 5, and I think the Rays missed the playoffs.
I'm not. I'll put it to you this way. The Rays are a team that I feel like I'm never high on the Rays, but they always end up in the postseason picture or just on the outside looking in. But that pitching, man, like what they've been able to do down there in Tampa Bay with that staff and with that bullpen, they just have some dynamic, electric arms that you can't just rule them out yet just because the talent is there. I could see them upsetting some team and sneaking into the playoffs, but they're maybe not a team that I would rank. What are they, 6th?
They're 5.
5th.
Oh, they're 5th?
I
don't know if I would have them. I don't know if I would have them at 5th. I think they might be a little closer to 7, 8, 9, or 10. But there's some teams that I could see jumping the shark on them.
Mm-hmm. Well, the Braves are not the Braves. The Rays are an interesting team because they have guys that really did well. A couple guys a few years ago, but struggled last year. Like Alvarado pitched really well in 18, didn't pitch that well last year, but he has nasty stuff. and was looking to profile to be your closer in 2018 and then struggled last year. Like I said, that's why relievers are so hard to peg. Where Nick Anderson's been good in different roles, but Andrew, I heard you bring this up on your podcast with Jose. He doesn't have much experience as a closer going into being a closer, but he does have nasty stuff. That guy's changeup, I mean, I would hate that. That would just piss me off. And then, so if he can figure out and be good in a closer role, they made Oliver Drake somehow into a great, like, he was always good that could locate the strike zone, but somehow once he went to Tampa, it's like, you know what, guys, I'm great now. And it's like, oh, really? So, seems like happens to most people, to be quite honest with you, when it comes to pitchers. Because the same type of thing happened with Chaz Rose. So, like, they just seem to pick up. They're kind of like how there's teams that you just don't doubt, and the Cardinals became a team like that, which I hate that the Cardinals became a team like that but that's a different story for a different time. The Rays have also become a team like that where I'm like, I would never bet against them because they always prove you wrong. It's like in hockey, any team coached by John Tortorella is like that. If you bet against them, you're a jackass. Excuse my language, but like it's kind of like you should never bet against those teams because they're probably going to prove you wrong no matter how much you want to nitpick their roster because of name brand people. They're probably going to be like, cool, great, we see what you're saying, but we're still going to kill you. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, we're still gonna win like what an equivalence of like 90 games would be, and you'd be like, cool, I didn't see that coming. It's like, yeah, we know you didn't. So like, I also like, I don't think they put him on their roster yet, but they did pick up a guy from the Marlins that I always liked how his stuff a little bit, but he hasn't been able to find his way yet. I thought maybe he could find it in Tampa in Trevor Richards. So if they could get that kid going a little bit, he was a guy that I know the Marlins were high on. So he has some good stuff. They just need to get him going. Maybe that obviously will help, and they're the Rays. So when it comes to starting pitching, they obviously could probably get people going. And a name to look out for, I would say, would be Jalen Beeks. He's a lefty that's pretty good at locating the strike zone. They haven't used him much in the rotation yet. I think this might be the year that they're going to look to potentially use him more.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens and where it stands by the end of the year. And they're an interesting team. I think the Cardinals were a good comparison in that sense, a team that always kind of just finds ways to keep good prospects that just overperform at times to keep them in the running.
Yeah.
I have nothing against the Cardinals.
I don't have anything against the Cardinals. It's just they beat us. Like once.
See, I always respected them because Scott Rowland got traded there, and I was a huge Scott Rowland fan, so yeah. I never really hated him.
That's more what pisses me off. Like, they find a way to be successful. If the Rays beat us in that World Series, then I would feel the same exact way about the Rays. But that didn't happen. We destroyed. So that was all right. But that's my whole point. Like, I don't like the Cardinals after they beat us, and all their role players were like, yeah, you know what, guys, we're now Babe Ruth, and it's like, oh, of course you are. That's my problem. So yeah, no bueno with the Cardinals.
Gotcha. But moving on to the final topic of the night. Obviously, again, opening day is right around the corner. It will happen on Friday. The Phillies, career-wise, are 64-71-2 on opening days to start the year.
Oh my God!
And since 1997, the year I was born, the Phillies are 8-14 in opening day games. So obviously,
oh my God,
a struggle there. 6 games under 500 in that respective, and then 7 career-wise in Phillies history. And we'll start with you, Biscuit. Do you have a favorite Phillies opening day memory in your lifetime, and how and what will you be doing to watch this year's opening day?
My favorite memory was watching it with my dad and going to the game. If they were home, obviously it would be me getting out of school early and he and I sneaking over to South Philly to watch it, or just being at home with him and watching it. I have one distinct one memory specifically of like me when I was still kind of shorter and me jumping up to give my dad a high five because I was so excited to watch baseball with him. But over the last couple of years, obviously, I haven't been able to get down to the ballpark for opening day throughout college. So what I would do is I would skip class and I would just tell my professors, look, man, Phillies, and it's like my Christmas. Don't take it personally, even though some teachers would. But I would straight up be like, look, I'm leaving class early or I'm not coming to class today. First pitch is at 3:05. 2:30, I'm watching pregame with Ricky Bo and the crew, having my beer. Some professors would be cool with it, be like, hey, Joe, I get it. Go Phillies, man. And others would be like, do you really think baseball is more important than my class, Mr. Berardi? And I would be like, yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, I do. and that's why I'm doing nothing with my history degree today, ladies and gentlemen. But it just I just like watching it. I just like getting to celebrate the day for baseball and everything that it means to me and everything that it's given me throughout my life. It's, helped me make friends. It's helped me make really strong memories. It's when I need a date night, it's there for me. It's just always something that's been so comforting in my life. And I'm just truly thankful. And I thank God really to be able to have it back.
Yeah, I think that's great stories, and I can relate to a lot of them in the sense of always watching it with my dad as well, and it means so much to have the game, and I think this is something we really missed throughout this whole time is having that one thing where you can always find something to relate with somebody when it comes to like sports and having that game to go watch with somebody, whether it's at the ballpark or just on TV as well. So I think you make up a very good point, like everything, we're all happy it's back for that sense, and it gives you something else to do, and it's common, or like it's not always common relaxing depending on what kind of game it is. But no, I think, and I was the same way. My parents would help me get out of high school, and we used to always go to every opening day, and it was a lot of fun. And I'd skip school to head down to the ballpark, go to that I think a lot of opening day games. There was like a 3:05 game, so get out of school early, go down, watch
Something
it, or
weird
just
like that, yeah.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
or same thing. I mean, I always try to have early classes, but yeah, if I had a late afternoon class or something, I absolutely would skip it as well for the game. I don't think it ever had that conflict in terms of Phillies, but I would have. But Bork, what about you? What's a favorite memory you have, or what are you going to be doing this year?
This year I have absolutely no idea. As of now, I think I'm just going to be watching the game at my house. But I would say the memory I remember, normally I would pick, because I've been to quite a few opening days, one I've been to, which I wasn't at this one, but just from watching it on TV, because most things, like the saying goes, don't go as well as they're planned, where Holiday in his debut in 2010 was absolutely ridiculous. So I remember watching that game. It was against the Nationals, and that's also an opening day that our team kicked ass in general. We won 11-1. So
That was the Polanco Grand Slam game, right?
yeah, yes, I believe that was the Polanco Grand Slam game. Shout out to Placido. So that was a game that Doc just shut it down. Our offense went ballistic. That was one of the best opening days because obviously, like Andrew said, there's been many, 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 many sad opening days. So that was one that was really, really, really nice. And now I'm just repeating words a lot. So, but
yeah, we all do it. We all do it.
But he went 7 innings in that game and gave up. I just pulled up the stuff. Gave up 1 run on 6 hits and struck out 9 people in his debut. So what more could you ask for in a debut? Nothing normally goes as good as advertised. So that's something. I wasn't even at that opening day, but that's something that obviously, because it was at Nationals Park, that's something that I remember from watching that game, just how dominant he was as advertised right away.
Yeah, I wrote that game down as well. I think, like you said, it's Doc's first start with the Phillies, and I think it kind of set the tone there and had the fans all excited as well. And it was just such a good game overall from Doc and then from the offense as well. And kind of, obviously, you made the World Series 2 years in a row before that. And then in 10 that happened. So I think the excitement just kind of continued to build from there. But no, yeah, There's a lot, even though we have a lot of losses, there's still a lot of fun memories from these opening days. And I mean, I think Biscuit put it in a good way. It's like a holiday to us. Like
Oh
diehard
yeah.
baseball fans like us, like you treat it like a holiday. I know, obviously, in past years there are a lot of non-baseball fans starting to get out there, but I mean, overall, I mean, we're obviously a baseball podcast, so I mean, we all treat it like a holiday, and it's gonna be fun. I'm excited for it, and I can guarantee it's all I'm gonna be doing this weekend.
Yeah, it's gonna
One
be
thing.
odd.
Oh,
Oh, go
go
ahead.
for it. Go for
No,
it,
you got.
buddy.
No, I was gonna say it's just gonna be odd this year because I'm so used to at least hanging out with people for opening day or going to the game or going to a bar or doing something. Normally not a bar, but that would be like a last maybe scenario. But like going somewhere to watch a game. So like it's just gonna be odd this year if I'm just kind of chilling watching the game. Normally I don't do that, but go ahead, Biscuit. What were you saying?
One thing I was going to say, well, two things that another thing just popped into my mind. But first and foremost, I'm really excited to have like our first like full season, even though it's not going to be a full season. It's only 60 games as opposed to 162. But like with all of us and doing the show, and I just feel like we're going to have a lot of fun moments throughout the shows over the next couple months with the season. I'm really excited to be able to kind of go through this season with you guys, not to sound cheesy, and have, these conversations, because, and I brought this up in the past on shows, like I don't have many people in my life who really follow the Phillies or follow baseball in general, how religiously I do. And, to be able to come here and have these conversations with you guys and do these shows, it's always a highlight of my week. And I'm looking to finally, after 5 very, very long months, watch some actual Phillies baseball, some meaningful Phillies baseball, and to be able to talk about it with you guys. And the other thing, really on the flip side of that, is I'm sad too, because it's going to feel so short. I don't know if you guys feel this way, but it's only going to be 60 games. It's going to go over in the snap of a finger, and it's not going to feel like it's enough. And I think that's what's going to really suck in the long run, is because it's not going to give you that full like feeling of an 162 game season. And I feel like, especially if the Phillies are on the outside looking in with the postseason picture this year, I'm not going to be satisfied. I don't think I would be satisfied if they missed the playoffs anyway. But like in terms of like getting a full season and just going through like, the dog days of summer and the rush of August and September, like we're going to, it's just not going to feel the same. But I'm excited still nonetheless. Like have 7:05 July 24th circled on my calendar. I forgot what month it was. Thank you.
They all blend together now.
Oh God, it's like, to me, it's like still May in some cases. So yeah, that's where I'm at with life. But I'm very excited, and I'm really looking forward to Friday.
Now, you brought up a lot of good points, and that's something as well. I'm very excited to go through this year with you guys as well. And I think, was it you, Biscuit, that mentioned it the other day? It's been about a year, I think, since we kind of all started working here. And a big part of last year, we didn't really podcast towards the last season, but I think a lot of us started to write with them, write with this group. And as fun as that was, I'm excited to talk through it this year and actually continue this podcast. And I think this kind of gets all of our thoughts out as well, better than kind of writing everything down, and it kind of gets to collaborate on it as well and kind of get our, I mean, obviously it's not going to be a live reaction, but kind of a live reaction to hear each other's voices and kind of get the frustration or the positivity out throughout the season.
Oh yeah, it's going to be so exciting. Like so exciting. Just how, and even without baseball, the last months, like I think a big part of what's gotten me through this quarantine was having our weekly shows and being able to talk about everything going on with you guys. It almost brought like a level of normalcy or sanity to this whole thing. So I'm excited that like, we all got to work through these last months, and our frustrations about when, if, how baseball will be starting. It's all over. We're about to see the finished product of everything we've kind of been through and talking about over the last couple months. And it's almost going to be like entering a new chapter of this coronavirus saga. So it's going to be exciting. Yeah. It's going to be exhilarating and exciting. And I'm excited to get to share it with everyone on the show.
I completely agree with Biscuit and what you said, Andrew. It's going to be really exciting to talk through it and all this year and be able to talk through it. I also think this really did help to get through quarantine. I mean, to get through quarantine, I basically started doing work for a bunch of different podcasts and writing and doing stuff for us. So yeah, divesting my whole life into sports is basically what got me through quarantine. But until sports came back, not actual quarantine per se, but you know what I'm getting at. So I think it's very nice that the league's coming back. I think it's very nice that we have our two horses at the top of our rotation to start the season. Because congratulations to Wheels for having his kid already. And then I think Spencer Howard might honestly slide into that fifth spot by day 7, like Biscuit highlighted so eloquently a couple shows back. That it's the 7-day period this year for the contracts. And then we'll see what happens with Bohm. But I think the Phillies, especially if that playoff thing happens, I'm calling it right now. We're making the postseason.
Right on.
If that playoff thing doesn't happen, I still have us as a bubble team in my eyes. So that's why I would have us making the playoffs if that happens, obviously, because if I have us as a bubble team, that would obviously have us making the playoffs. So that's kind of where I have us right now.
No, I agree with that completely. I think expansion, we can get in. I mean, I think we can get in either way, but like you said, I think we're a bubble team right now. Unfortunately, I think we're just on the outside looking in if we stay at this current playoff format. But yeah, I'm excited. I don't know if you guys have anything else. I will say I do usually. This is always funny to me. My dad taught me when I was young on how to keep score in a baseball game, and that's kind of how I started loving statistics. So I will every opening day and stuff. I even do it a lot of other games, not just opening day. But I do always keep score of the game in a book, in a scorebook. So I always look forward to doing that, and we'll gladly keep that going this Friday. So I always like doing that and kind of keeping notes throughout the game. And glad now I can finally, again, going back to that, is putting it towards use and not just jotting notes down for fun, but putting it towards future podcasts and talking about it in that sense. So I always look forward to that. But before we get into your guys' final thoughts, my final thoughts here, I got a couple funny opening day headlines real quick to close it out because we are a little over the hour mark. But in 1960, the headline here was the Phillies lose opening day, manager quits. He quit after losing one game of the season. He said he felt he was no longer respected by the veterans of the team, and there was a lot of distrust in the locker room. And he said he's now 49 years old. I want to live to be 50. So after the loss, he resigned. That was the 1960s team.
Sounds like me.
Fantastic.
I thought that one was pretty funny.
Worse than Sandberg.
What was that?
That's worse than freaking Sandberg.
Oh, yeah. He quit, what, in August?
Midway through, yeah. Like a little bit past midway through, yeah.
1974. This one's actually fun. Mike Schmidt hits a walk-off home run, so they win in 74. And then the other one, another funny one I had, the headline in 1991, it was called A Bartending Umpire.
Oh, boy.
The actual umpires were still in the middle of contract issues, and they're still under negotiating their contracts, which was finalized the morning of opening day. But because it was finalized that morning, none of the umpires were able to get ready by the time of opening day. So the umpires in the game, it said in the newspaper the next day, the umpire at first base his normal job was a computer salesman. Behind the plate was a salesman. Third base was a pharmacist salesman. So that was what you were getting out of.
That's worse than the NFL's referee substitution. At least they had refs as their substitutions, not, hey, do you know a damn thing about baseball? Yeah. Okay, cool. You're an ump. It's like, okay.
And this is where the headline comes from, but the first base umpire was indeed a bartender. So that's what they had going for him in 1991. But that was just a couple funny headlines I thought before we were born and stuff that a lot of people probably weren't aware of. So I thought that was kind of funny to bring out. And then they had the 2010 Roy Halladay dominates in his opening day game. But yeah, those are the big ones in terms of that sense. A couple other recent ones. I don't really remember this game, but John Mayberry Jr. hit a walk-off single in 2011 to cap a 3-run ninth inning comeback over the Astros. I did remember this game, 2014, the offensive battle between the Phillies and Rangers. Jimmy Rollins drove in 4 runs in Texas. That game was a lot of fun to watch. That was kind of a back-and-forth game. And then, obviously, it does mention last year when, obviously, Ed Harper bring out – they mentioned the Fanatic cleats, and then you have the Andrew McCutchen home run and everything, and that great 10-4 win over the Braves. So I just thought that was a good way to kind of close out my thoughts, at least a couple different opening day headlines in that sense. But, Bork, what are your final thoughts for the show?
I actually had, just because everybody loves Chuck, so I took I only picked one out, but I had a former opening day thing from back in 05 when the Nationals first became the Nationals after being formerly known as the Expos, obviously. When Charlie made his Phillies managerial debut, that was in an 8-4 win at CBP, and that was the first game that the Nationals played as the Nationals. So that was just interesting to me.
Okay, that is very interesting. I forgot about that. And then Biscuit, I don't know where you're going to go with this, but what is your final thought?
Jacob Tyler Realmuto. All-Star, Silver Slugger, future Hall of Fame catcher. Phillies, I know you're listening. Get it done. Get it done. Extend the man, extend the star. Don't leave me hanging on this. And please, for the love of God, don't allow a situation where he could end up with the New York fucking Mets. Also, I'm happy that baseball is back.
Absolutely. Again, Phillies. Phillies first pitch, 7:05 Friday. Aaron Nola will be on the mound. We are all ready for it. Again, check out or go order food for the game at Just Food, 215-794-3663. And again, the group, the band that does the intro and outro music for us, Jack Dolls, does a great job. Check them out at www.jackdolls.com, and we will send this one off to the Jack Dolls to take us out for the final part of this show. But another great show again by Chasing the Pennant here. Thank you, Bork and Biscuit, for joining me here today. And for the three of us, have a great evening and enjoy opening weekend.
A fighting man I used to be, revered and feared through Killarney. Now I'm back, hitching with the wind. But if Mickey Flynn should ever find me, I'll throw me caution all behind me and square off on that son of a bitch again. He cracked open a river too, he beat me Sunday through and through, and such over my unconscious frame. I won me healthy sheriff fights, well lucky son, still happy life since Mickey Flynn beat me dumb and